And when I work with young leaders, I think that's something that I really try to get them to just raise their consciousness around asking for help and asking for feedback and asking for other people's input. You don't lose your status as a leader. You actually show the people you're serving that you care. And so I think that's probably been one of the biggest shifts that I've really grown in my leadership is, if you walk, I have a really open door policy. I really believe my staff knows they can come in and talk to me about things that they're rumbling with, and it won't be seen as a sign of weakness.
Right.
Okay, ask questions.
Yeah.
It's okay to not know. And then I also have to model that. I also have to be willing to say, I don't know right now. I need some time to rumble with that, or I need some more processing time.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Brighter Together podcast. My name is Janet Courtney, and my special guest today is Autumn Mattson. Autumn is the superintendent at Creative Technologies Academy in Cedar Springs, Michigan. Autumn, thanks for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about you and about Cedar Springs and Creative Technologies Academy.
Sure. Well, this is going to be my 25th year in education.
Wow. Good for you. Yeah.
Yeah. If you would have asked me 25 years ago if this is what I was going to do, I would have told you no, but I'm still here. So, and I
hear
have
you.
had just such a blessing of a experience as an educator. I have served in lots of capacities. I've been in the classroom. I've actually been, a secretary at the school. I went from that to an assistant athletic director, dean of students, assistant principal. I've served as an elementary principal, and then the last 6 years, I've had the opportunity to serve as the superintendent here at Creative Technologies Academy. And I've also been able to, I've been in a couple different school systems. So I've been in a big system. And then my current system here is we have about 315 students, and we
Nice.
serve preschool all the way through 12th grade. So we
Oh,
get to
nice.
see a little bit of everybody. And we are a public charter school in Michigan. And so, I think the big difference is we don't necessarily have a district. You can choose to come here. We're free public education.
Right.
And,
School choice, right?
yeah, yep. And there's just some really, I've been here at this school for 10 years. So I went
Right.
from a really, really big system to this smaller system. And I have just really had a blessing in my career of being supported and pushed from really, really great leaders, which I think really kind of it has shaped me into the leader that I try to be for the people that I'm serving. So,
Awesome.
yeah. And
Yeah.
Creative Technologies Academy was founded in 1998. So we're still a relatively young school, I would say. But when the charter movement was happening in Michigan, CTA was founded. Ferris State University is our authorizer.
Oh,
But we
okay.
were one of the first charter schools to kind of get in there and get rolling. And they started out as a 6th through 12th grade school, and then added in the elementary piece, which is kind of backwards of how they
Yeah.
do it. But
Yeah.
we just have a really unique community that we have a great partnership with our local public school, Cedar Springs Public Schools, and just a really, our parents in this community have a choice to go to a big school that's local or to come to a smaller school, and to be able to have that gift as a parent to really dive into what your kid needs. I think it's a really unique and awesome gift that we have here in the Cedar Springs surrounding areas.
And I bet you have some parents that walk both sides of that line. Probably they have some at yours and some at the others. Yeah. Yeah.
They do, and that we really try to stay mindful of the other local schools here in our county and what their schedules are and all of those pieces. Even our start and end time, we've adjusted so that if they need to take kids to the schools and other
Oh,
schools, they
nice.
can do that. And really just partner as much as we can with the other local schools to serve the communities that our families are coming from. So we really try to create our own community within a community here. So.
Right. Yeah. And you said you touched on leadership, and that is a big part of how you manage. So tell me a little bit about your leadership philosophy. It sounds similar to ours, but everybody's got their.
Well, I feel like one of the big pieces that I really strive for as, leading my school district, and I would say in almost all aspects of my life, is to just being authentic. That word gets used a lot, but I think being authentic and transparent are really important. One of the things that I've learned as I've maneuvered through all those different roles that I spoke about was um, oftentimes leaders don't listen to the people they're serving. And it's not because they don't want to hear it, they're busy, or it takes time to really, dive down. And I think we can get caught up in sometimes as leaders making decisions for the people that we think are the best decisions for them, but we don't take the time to talk to them and dive in. How's this really going to impact,
All right.
or like it looks good on paper, or we're all sitting up in our office and that sounds good, but what
Mhm.
does it really mean when your boots on the ground? And so I've really, I think one of the pieces that really sets some of the decisions we make here at CTA different from other systems is that we take our time first, we pause, we gather feedback from the stakeholders that it's going to involve, and we give people the opportunity to be heard and seen. And that doesn't necessarily mean that everybody gets what they want, but they do get an opportunity to be a part of that, and we just really value, and it goes all the way down to our kids. Like I've always been a huge, advocate for listening to our students. I know
Yeah.
that we as adults, need to make
Yeah.
decisions, but our young adults are so thoughtful, and they have a pulse on what's really going on way more than we do. And if and we're just they need to be heard. It doesn't necessarily say they're not making the decisions, but I think just that authenticity, I know I've grown in that over the years, being in this for 25 years. If you would have rewound the clock and I was sitting here, I think I thought I had to prove something. And so maybe I didn't
Mhm.
have as much. And I, just kind of came in and was like, well, this is what we're doing because it's going to work. Just trust me. And I just have, and when I work with young leaders, I think that's something that I really, I really try to get them to just raise their consciousness around, like, asking for help and asking for feedback and asking for other people's input. You don't lose your status as a leader. You actually show the people you're serving that you care. And so I think that's probably been one of the biggest shifts that I've, really grown in my leadership is I have a really open door policy. I really believe my staff knows they can come in and talk to me about things that are, they're rumbling with, and it won't be seen as a sign of weakness.
Right.
It's okay to
Mhm.
ask questions.
Yeah.
It's okay to not know.
Mhm.
And then I also have to model that. Like, I
Right.
also have to be willing to say, like, I don't know right now. I need some time to rumble with that, or I need some more processing time. And I just think that I've really tried to learn also that it if I, as a leader, was to step out of, the daily stuff that's going on, does it keep going? And I feel like
Uh-huh.
that's so hard that you have to, and sometimes that's scary as a leader because you might take that as like, well, I'm not needed, or like, what if they realize they don't need me in these positions anymore?
Mhm.
But I feel like that's really the end goal is, and I've always said, like, I want this school to run super smooth when I'm not here, but when
Right.
I am here, it's just a little bit better, like, it's
Yeah.
just that
Yeah,
little,
absolutely.
but
Yeah.
but I think
Yeah.
that's the piece,
Well,
that
and you trust but verify. That's a piece of it too. That's a big part of our jobs as leaders and in the roles that we're in is we trust what our people. We do make thoughtful choices. We do take them into consideration, but we also verify that things are getting done, right? And that things are being followed up and we're the first ones to take responsibility when something goes wrong. Right? So all of those things and valuing the people, I think there's so much wisdom and value in what you're saying because you have to trust the people that are with you, but you have to also show them that you can be vulnerable. You can be imperfect because we're all imperfect, right? Yeah. So, and I think that when people see that authenticity and that realness, it gives them an opportunity to be real themselves and um, when you're and I think some of it I'm not I don't want to insult anybody that's young, but I think some of it comes with maturity too. I think there is a piece of it that just goes you just learn that, it's okay to be wrong, it's okay to make mistakes, but the big piece that you have to do is you have to own it and you have to work through it and you have to be honest and integrity. Boy, that integrity piece is so important because the second you lose integrity, the second that you show someone that you're not trustworthy, you and
Lost
it's
it.
so hard to get back. It's, like, impossible to get back when you so it's every day. It's not being a leader is not a, "Okay, I've been, put in this role, so now I'm the leader." No, it's a job that you serve, and it's servant leadership too. If you wanna get away from the authentic leadership piece in that word, servant
Yeah,
leadership is a big
that's
piece of what you're
yeah.
talking about, so
And I really think the generation thing I think is really coming into play, and I will say, like, I have learned so much from the younger staff that we have hired and even our younger students.
Mhm.
And I feel like instead of that being a power struggle of I'm right, you're wrong, or I'm better, I know it
Right.
all, or whatever, just listening. And one of the big things, in the last 3 years I've noticed is the younger people that we're hiring are so good at like some boundaries and some, like and at first I was like, that was hard because when I was their age, it was you worked hard. This was
Yeah.
everything. We like had to
Work
over
was it,
became
right?
over
Yeah.
consuming, and
Uh-huh.
so I'm just like, wow, like if we could mix a little bit of, yes, you do have to do a little bit of this work outside of your normal hours, but also I love that you set a boundary that you're not going to go home and stay on your computer till 12 at night trying to get everything done and you're going to actually enjoy your Saturday. Like I need a little bit of
Yeah.
that in my life. So I
Yeah.
feel like I've learned too that like work is a job and is a part of who we are, but it's not everything. And really trying
Right.
to model that and really, even the consciousness of when do I send an email? Like,
Mhm. Oh
when
gosh,
do I,
yeah.
yeah, like when do I make the phone call? Because even though it might work on my to-do list, what underlying messages am I sending as the leader of the school? If I'm sending emails between 8 and 10 p.m., even though that works for
Mhm.
me, my
Mhm.
my staff's at home like, "Oh my goodness," like, I got so just trying to really raise consciousness, and I do think that comes with experience and being able to be mindful of my behavior, my words, my behavior. It does
Mm.
impact the
Mhm.
people I'm leading,
Yeah.
and I just want I think a big shift I've also had since I came from my big school to this school, is just the importance of honoring the people I lead, who they are outside of the roles they're here.
Yeah.
And I try to model that. I've gotten better at it. I am a mom, I'm a wife, I have friends, like I like to travel. Like there's pieces I'm not just the superintendent at Creative
Right.
Technologies Academy.
Yeah.
And trying to give my staff permission to go enjoy themselves. But when I don't ever show them that I also am somebody outside, my words can do this, but my behavior, they gotta match.
Yeah,
They
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 oh,
got
yeah. Oh, for sure.
so
And that goes back to being honest and authentic too. Yeah, you have to absolutely be that same person all the time. And I'm sorry, it's hard to be somebody else at work and I could never do it. I could never do it. I have to be who I am all the time. I talk about God on this show because I'm a Christian, and it is just who I am. People might be offended by that and I'm just like, I'm not gonna stop being who I am because I might upset somebody, but I also respect your opinion. I don't expect everybody to believe what I believe. And Christians tend to like we have a black eye sometimes because there have been people that are like my way or the highway, but it's not. I mean, your relationship with your staff and your relationship with your people need to be honest to you and to how you lead, not the person before you, not the person that you think is the perfect person, the person that wrote that incredible book that you emulate. You can emulate that book, but you still have to do things your way. It still has to be from your yeah, exactly, from your heart, right? From you, who you are, for sure. I love that.
the people who see through that the most are kids. Like
Oh
that's
yeah,
learned.
in a
Like
second
I
they'll
think
see
that
through
is
that.
the part that I really have tried to like model and talk about is that the kids are like, that's not you. Like they
You're
see
fake.
right through
Yeah.
it. And that's a good checkpoint sometimes. Like, you might say this, Mrs. Matson, but you don't really mean it. Like, they can tell. And I love that kids are just, um, I just think they're so wise and that they're the reason we're doing all of this. But I also will name, I share often with my staff and my parents and my kids, like, the leadership role that I get to serve in is my job to make sure that all of you are being heard. And if you're running a school that it's just for the kids, then you're missing out on the other people that are part of your partnership. If it's just the parents running it, like, you're missing out on this, like, and it's just the teacher. So it's always this balance, I think, of really, and I always name that, like, I'm going to listen, I'm going to see you, I'm going to hear you, but the decision or the thing we come out with might not check all of your boxes. But it's when we get the main, because after people can be saying all these things right here, but if you really break it down, there's always like a little core thing that they all had in common. That there's
Yeah.
and so really trying to sift through that. And I think another part of leadership that's really important is patience. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, again, if I think over my years of growing as a leader, I call it the pouncer. It's the pouncer move. Like, something happens, I'll pounce on it. Cause I'll say, I'll fix it. I'll make it better. I'll do it. And all I've done then is taken away an opportunity for someone else to problem
To
solve
learn.
or to think
Mhm.
through or to own and to grow. And even like, I used to hate when people be uncomfortable. So I would just swoop in and, like, no, that's like where that magic is happening when we're
Mhm.
rumbling through the uncomfortableness. And so that's another of evolution, I think, when you get to your leadership and you've been doing it, is you get comfortable with silence, you get comfortable with pausing, you get comfortable with the uncomfortableness of people. And that is like, we're growing leaders and mentoring them, like letting them have those moments of rumble without pouncing and fixing it, is I think where
Yeah.
they really start to find who they are as a leader and how they maneuver through some of those pieces.
There's a big difference between being supported by somebody who's walked in your shoes and someone who hasn't. At Lighthouse Therapy, our leadership team is made of experienced clinicians who've actually worked in schools. We understand the pressure you're under and what real support looks like. That's why our therapy solutions, whether it be virtual, hybrid, or in person, are built with you in mind. No complicated systems or red tape, just streamlined support and seasoned therapists who are ready to make a difference. Learn more at lighthouse-therapy.com/brighter together. So, I'm a speech therapist. Do you know, I want to share this with the listeners as well, but so that isn't a quiz. It's not a quiz. But do you know how long it takes for silence to become uncomfortable when you're in a conversation with two people? Do you know how long it is? It's so short. 4 seconds. 4
What?
seconds.
Wow. I was gonna say 7,
Yes.
so I'm way off.
Yeah, 4 seconds or less. That's all you have to be quiet. So for those people like myself who just wanna jump in, and if you really want your people to give you their opinion, to be able to speak, you gotta close your mouth for at least 4 seconds, and I'll tell you, you implement that and it works. People will, because they start to squirm because it makes them uncomfortable. And 4 seconds really isn't that long. And it's a long time in media. I know they were like, you can't do that at all, but in a conversation, 4 seconds is all you need to get. And we use it a lot with students that are disfluency, because they don't want to talk. So you have to wait. You have to really. That was when I really started learning about waiting, was when I was in grad school and working with kids with fluency issues. And I had a great professor. He pounded it into me. He's like, stop talking. You have to just stop talking and give them an opportunity. And I was in grad school, so it was a good thing to learn early on. But yeah, 4 seconds is all it takes.
So I
So
have a strategy that I like 5 years ago implemented. I wear a bracelet and I
mhm.
twist it on my wrist 5 times before I will, and that's kind of what I do, and that is my go-to because I need something because I wanna, and usually if I'm twisting it here, nobody really notices, but for me, that's my count. And then if we get to
Mhm.
that, I just check in,
Yeah.
but that is, I would say that's probably, pausing is the power of the pause, right? Like, so
Mhm.
much power in
Mhm.
that. It's just, it's very valuable, but again, it's It's tough, and I think, I go back to, like, leadership isn't just a title, and I do believe, and here at our school, like, we believe our motto is, "We are world changers." We change the world, and we really try to
Yeah.
talk about, like, it's not just, like, these big things. It's not because 'cause I'm the superintendent, I'm changing the world more than everybody else. Absolutely not. It's the little things that you do, and
Mhm.
leadership looks and sounds different in every single person, but we
Oh, yeah.
all are leaders, and we
Mhm.
all do it different, and I think what I loved about this school and why I wanted to come over here was because of the size where we get to know our kids so, like, so good and our families, and we get to pull out those little nuggets of kids that, and let them know, like, you holding that door right there, that's leadership behavior.
Yeah.
You picking up that piece of paper when you walk out, that's changing the world. You
Mhm.
looking at someone that you notice and just saying, "Are you okay?" Like the check-in, like this, it's the little things that become the big, big world-changing things. And so that was one of the reasons that I really wanted to come to my school was I felt in my big system that maybe I wasn't making the difference that I thought I wanted to. And I'd been there I was burnt out. Like it just felt like, I mean, I was calling parents and I wanted to partner with them and you don't even know me or my kid. It just felt
Mm.
the authentic piece wasn't there.
Right.
So to have the opportunity to come to a smaller school that had some of the values and beliefs that I held as a person anyway, and to be able to build those relationships and really see the difference you could make in a young person's life. Because we all know it just takes one human to like change the trajectory, good or
Yeah.
bad, for a young
Yeah.
kid.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah,
And,
for sure.
so just to be able to be able to see that impact and do it, was just it's the reason I'm still here. I'm on year 10 of being here,
Mhm.
and every year get excited about what's next. Like, what are we
Yeah.
doing? How do we do this? And how are we gonna make the world a better place this year? So it's
Mhm.
really rewarding work, but I do go back to everyone's a leader. But that title, I feel like often we label people with leadership titles or things, or we assume that they're good at this, so they got to be this, and but we don't support them in their growth. Like
Mhm.
we might take a really good teacher and be like, "You should be a principal," but why? Like, what are they? What
Yeah.
do they even want to? And then what is that?
Mhm.
Just and again, like maybe they just want to be a really good teacher for like their
I
career
have
and
a
move their
I have a
class.
therapist that's way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
and
Mhm.
so and just because you have a title doesn't mean that you're more important, doesn't mean that you it doesn't mean any of those things. We put titles and labels on people, but don't actually sometimes cultivate and allow them to find their voice as a leader.
Mhm.
So that's one
Yeah.
thing I really try to help support and grow in anyone that I'm working with or talking to.
Yeah. We also here, I'm not a big fan of middle management. I'm the CEO, I'm an SLP. I haven't been able to practice as an SLP for 3 years, and you get out of practice. And AI and all of the changes, things are changing so quickly. It's like I would have to learn again. I mean, the fundamentals are there and they always will be, but still, and so with us, any of our clinical coordinators, the people that are the ones that are doing the day-to-day kind of stuff that I can't do anymore because we've grown too big, they still they are still seeing kids because we don't want them to forget why I've seen that in other companies where you end up with this group of middle management people and they're running around like chickens with their head cut off and they're making policy and pushing things out from above, but they don't there's no continuity and there's no communication and it's easy to forget sometimes why we do what we do. So I've always taken the stance that let's take those leaders and make sure. Now we have other people that are clinical that are as we've grown, we've regionalized some, but and they are W-2 and not they're only management, but we take it we don't take that lightly. We don't take stepping into that lightly because I'm an SLP and we have our executive director of clinical operations is a school psych, and one of our regionals is an OT, and the other one's going to be a speech therapist, and so we try to look at the disciplines as well and make sure that we have a representation of all of the, like you're talking about, the kids and the parents and the teachers. It's the same kind of thing, just trying to make sure that we've got the whole big picture because it's a big picture sometimes, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and that just resonates with me completely because one of the reasons this superintendent job is so appealing to me is that we have a campus, we have 4 buildings. I mean, and I can get up and I can walk down into the kindergarten room and they all know my name and they
Mhm.
just ground you in your why. And I
Yeah.
do think, I mean, I have seen great educational leaders and just leaders in general continue to go and their influence gets bigger and they're doing great things, but they don't have an opportunity to get back into maybe why they wanted to go on that leadership journey in the first place. And I've told my husband this often that like I when I look at other big systems and there's other opportunities to maybe go be a superintendent somewhere else, I just am like, I'd miss the kids. I'd miss
Yeah.
the staff. Like I
Mhm.
don't I'm not even I mean, I'm not even in a place in my career yet where I want that disconnection. You know what I mean? Where I
Mhm.
want to get to that point because it's the connection that
Yeah.
drives me as a leader to want to keep growing people and seeing that. And I'm not saying that you're in a big system you can't connect. I'm just saying
No,
I have
absolutely not. Yeah.
privilege and the lunchroom is right outside my door. You know what I mean? So I can go see the
Mhm.
kids at lunch and do the pieces and that is a bucket filler for me. And so I think that, when we go to that authentic leadership, I would hope that even my students know that you can trust Mrs. Matson, you can go talk to her.
Right.
I do very intentional things where I have lunch with our students. I try to go in the lunchroom, I go in the classrooms. Like I and my other 2 sons were in a big system and they knew the name of their superintendent, but I don't think they would recognize him if they saw him walk in a building. And
Mhm.
it's okay, like, bigger systems have other people they connect with, but that's just
Yeah.
part of the reason why I love to be at this school, is I love those
Yeah.
connections that we're making.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Okay, one last question. And I try to ask this to most. I don't get to all of them, but a lot of my podcast guests get this question. So you're one of the lucky ones, I guess, or not, who depends on your perspective. But if you could change, and this is, and I always say, "Well, you can't say money because everybody needs more money." Well, everybody, we don't have enough money. I know that. Everybody needs more money. But if you could change one thing within your sphere miraculously, like this one thing, if we could just have this one thing no longer be a problem in your world, in your role, what would it be?
Well, that's a doozy. Drop that
Yeah.
out.
See, I
Back.
told you.
If I could change one thing here at CTA or in my role,
Mhm.
I I think maybe this won't be popular, but one of the things that is tough sometimes is the expectations, that come down from whether it's state, federal, whatever, the expectations just around data or, like, our kids get seen at those levels as just a number or just as
Yeah.
like a stat or a statistic.
Yeah, I get you.
Um, and that's how we're judged, and that's how we're,
Mhm.
told, "You're doing a good job or you're not doing a good job." If I could that is definitely something that I wish, and I would know how to solve it, but I wish the whole picture of a kiddo could be seen and heard. And I know
Right.
we have our standardized I
Well,
get
that's
why
why we're here, right? Tha
I
Yeah.
get I know why they're there, I get that piece, but I
Mhm.
often think that educators are pouring their hearts and souls into
Mhm.
these young humans and we see this kiddo that maybe, wouldn't even make eye contact with you when they walked in your door, as a little third grader, or maybe, could barely, didn't even know how to open a book or know some letters. But at the end of the year, they're talking to you and they have found a hobby that they've grown as a human, but their
Right.
score still tells you they're down. They're
Yeah.
not, they're way below average. And we get judged on that, and sometimes it can be defeating, when,
Yeah,
like, you're
yeah.
pouring all this energy and time and effort into all of these kids, and yet at the end of the year, you're told your scores weren't good enough, and so I think that is we really try to protect our staff with that, but also you can't ignore that, like, that is where they come out, with those classes or the school rankings and all of that. So, if I could change that, I think that heaviness that we
Yeah.
feel as educators when we get told our data isn't good enough and we didn't do a good job, that's just not true. Like, we're
Yeah.
not just here for the data. So that would be the one
1000%.
that I wish was a little different as an educator. Because after you're in this business, I mean, if you stay the whole time for 30 years and to be told, that often that you're not doing a good job, even though you're doing a really good job, it's gonna be hard. You have to have the right
Yeah.
culture and leadership, I think, to not let that weigh you down.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's Brighter Together is about telling those stories. Absolutely 1000%, because we are judged very unfairly and very discriminately in a lot of different ways. And, so from my little corner of the world, that's what I'm trying to do, is give an opportunity for schools and for school leaders to tell their story. So, well, I'll tell you, Autumn, this has been a great conversation. We are like, it goes so fast. It's been 29 minutes already, and I'm like, oh, so tell everybody where they can learn a little bit more about you and your school.
Well, yeah. Well, if you Google Creative Technologies Academy, you'll go right to our website. And then we are on Instagram, Twitter, or X, or whatever that is now, and
Yep,
and
excellent.
Facebook. We have public pages, all of that. We also have a YouTube channel, and that is one of the things that we've really shifted in the last 5 years. We have a great marketing team that we are telling our story. We're celebrating the work that our kids and our families and our staff is doing here. And we don't want to be the best kept secret in Little West Michigan. We want people to know that if you come here, you are going to get a true partnership with the school system. We are going to walk alongside you as a family, as parents, and as kiddos, and we are going to listen to you and what we want to be partners in this. People say CTA is a family, so we really honor that. Like, we want to be part of
Hmm.
this journey because choosing to send your kid to a school is a big decision.
Yeah,
And we want to
yeah,
make sure that we really are here for that. So, yes, you can find us on all of the pieces. If you go to, if you Google us, that's all going to be on there. It's on our webpage, all of our different sites that are
awesome,
there. Or you can
awesome.
come visit us if you're
Yeah,
around. We'll always do a campus tour and connect with you. So, and then I personally also have an Instagram and all of those pieces, and, I try to update that and do some of those pieces as well, but, I will talk to anybody about our wonderful little school and
nice.
that we're doing, and I just appreciate this opportunity to sit down and talk. I often say the narrative around education, if we want it to be different, we have to be willing to get out and brag about ourselves a little,
Yep,
'cause we are very
amen.
humble people as educators, and we don't do this
Hmm.
to be in the news or to be out on all the socials, but there is
Hmm.
such a if we don't tell our story and we don't celebrate, they're gonna write a different narrative for
Yeah,
us.
and they
So,
have, and they
yeah,
really have, and
yes.
we are trying to change that,
Yes, and
and
so thank you for
it
this and
needs
what
to
you're doing
change.
because there's
Thanks.
just so much
Yeah,
goodness in this profession, and it's not just teachers, it's like you said, it's your speech paths and like, we have a whole education is such a big group of people
yeah,
that care about humanity, and we need to really
mhm,
celebrate each other and be kind to each other,
yeah.
so
Yeah, from the person that is doing the work of cleaning up after the kids, the custodians and those
uh,
guys and the groundskeepers, all the way up to the superintendents and board members and everybody in between. It matters. It really does. So, well, again, Autumn, thank you for being on the Brighter Together podcast, because
so
we're brighter together,
yes.
right?
Yes, thank you so much.